So that's the last time you'll probably see that lame ass intro. Um, and we're gonna welcome in Cindy Berry. She's on the phone. She couldn't join us in video because for some reason she's dealing with a bunch of nonsense, and she's kicked back and relaxed. But the Red Wings are probably kicked back and relaxing right now after their road trip, which was pretty successful from what we were talking about before about this Red Wings team, about how this road trip was going to be a huge road trip for them. If they could win 3 games, that's a win. And they did win 3 games. They went 3-2-0, and so it's a total win for the Red Wings. And obviously, I had to put the cowboy hat on the Red Wings logo because it is what it is. They went out west and they went 3-2. So Cindy, I sit here to tell you it was a great road trip for them. I thought their first game was they started out really, really bad. It was 1-0 right away, and they came back and they won that game, which was really rewarding. And then they played the Kings, and I couldn't watch that game because I had to go to work early that day, so I couldn't stay up till 12:30 at night. I just couldn't. There was no possible way. Wake up, they see that they won in a shootout, and then I watched the game over again, and they went on some miraculous bullshit that I never seen in my entire life in the NHL. And
Yeah,
then
wasn't that something?
that was amazing. I've never seen anything like that in my entire life. But man, that was such a great win. So they started 2-0, then they lose to the Ducks, and they're a pretty talented team, and I think they're really surprising people this season, especially with what Pat Verbeek's been able to do. Then they play the San Jose Sharks, which is the San Jose Sharks are an up and coming team, but I don't think they're there yet. They beat the Sharks, and that was probably one of the most boring games up until I don't know the last couple, like 10 minutes or whatever. It was kind of boring game right there, but they won the game. It's all that matters. And then you look at the Vegas Golden Knights and you go, okay, if they could just hang in there, like if they could just hang in long enough, like Dan Campbell says, and like drag them into the deep, deep water and like bury them. But they could not bury the Vegas Golden Knights. Vegas Golden Knights won 1-0. So it is what it is. That's a Stanley Cup contending team. You are on the last game of a road trip. No harm, no foul.
Well, here's the thing is that this is always a challenging trip for the Wings. Every
Mm-hmm.
time they go to the West Coast, they have challenges. And what I'm seeing is that they seem to be overcoming a lot of the issues that they've had in the past out there. I would have been happy, right, if they were just 500 on this trip, but they're 600. And you can't argue that. That's a very good sign. And if you just look at the way they're playing, what I'm encouraged by is they are showing greater and greater consistency, even though you might have been up, down, or whatever. But look at that game against Vegas. Look how they competed against the Golden Knights, who are arguably a very consistent team and have been for several seasons now. They were able to be competitive with the Vegas Golden Knights, hold them to a goal. The fact that they didn't score one, it's not that they didn't have a lot of great quality chances. They're creating the chances. They were
Mm-hmm.
there. They just, as Mo Sider said, just couldn't get it done. And that happens sometimes. But like you said, you're tired. You're at the end of a road trip. Probably the most disappointing game for me, other than the first one. I mean, I was disappointed in Anaheim, but after that amazing game, was it the day before? I mean, they're basically doing a double header, fighting jet lag and all of the other physical. I give them a pass on it, but I was disappointed. I expected them to do better against the Ducks. I actually expected them to win against the Ducks. I was
Mm-hmm.
disappointed that they didn't, but they performed a lot better against Vegas, is my point. So, overall, though, when you take it in its totality, prove me wrong, the Wings are looking more consistent and without Patrick Kane.
And you know what? We're gonna get to that because they are gonna get Patrick Kane back. But if you look at the season statistics, like I'll put it up right here. I mean, they're 18th in goals right now at 3 goals, and they're allowing 3 goals. So that's got to have a tick up. Obviously, their shooting percentage is tied for 14th in NHL. That's not that great. But shots on goal of 27, that's 19th in the NHL. That's not the greatest, but you could still get a tick up. But what I look at is the face-off percentage, because I think the most important thing about being a good hockey team is getting all that, getting the face off and getting possession of the puck, and then there you can make plays. And I think as we go along the season, I think their shooting percentage will tick up. I think they'll get more shots on net. But you look at the defensive side, and I think this is the most impressive part about their whole game. I mean, the goals allowed 15th in the NHL. That's not great, but look, you're allowing the 12th least shots on goal, which is that's a from last year to this year is a total reversal of what it was. And then the penalty kill is fifth, which we know last year was absolutely terrible. And they're fourth in penalty minutes. They're not taking penalties. So they're disciplined and they're playing well. And I can't be upset about losing to Vegas, because when I look at that Vegas game, like even Bruce Cassidy said it. He says both goalies did a good job. Ours was one shot better, right? He says he's generally given us a chance to win every time he's in there. Tonight was no difference. Tight games like that, they're always fun as a goalie. Schmid said. So that's what it was. And then you look at what Gibson said. He says we played well. You've got to credit them. They made it hard to score. They block a lot of shots. They play well defensively. It's a hard fought game. One shot. It is what it is. And as a goalie, like when you're dealing with a one shot game, like okay, you could sit here and you could talk about like what you could have done. But when you're in a one-shot game, it's a 1-0 game. Like you can look back at the Red Wings and you can go, okay, this is probably where they lost the game. They were 0 for 2 on the power play. I think that's where it kind of swayed the game, in my opinion, because if you don't make the chances, and this is going to bode well for them moving forward, is if you don't make do on your chances on the power play against these good teams like Vegas, who's a good defensive team, you probably will lose that game, because you have to really do good on the power play. And the Red Wings have done pretty good on the power play. They're tied for 10th in the NHL. So no harm, no foul. I think that they did a good job on this road trip. I think the most disappointing game for me was probably, if you're going to say a disappointing game, I think the Anaheim game was a little bit disappointing from my perspective, because like they go in there and yeah, it was a back-to-back, but like, look, I expected a little bit better. And I mean, I know I was a little bit tired, and I was losing a chance to stay awake because they weren't playing good, but they just seemed like they were out of sorts. Like even the passing was a little bit haywire. So it is what it is. I mean, they're doing a really good job, and I want to harken on this stat because this is the most important stat I think of the day. The Red Wings are they're only one of 5 teams in the NHL with 4+ point per game players. Teams Detroit, Utah, Edmonton, Vegas. So you're in a good category there. And Anaheim has 4. So even if I say Anaheim's disappointing or Vegas is disappointing, those were 2 teams that are playing really well right now. So you kind of give them a pass, and you go, okay, now you got this homestand where you're gonna have teams like the Rangers come in they're playing pretty well, and you got you got good teams coming in. So you got Anaheim coming in, you can really make do with that. So it's going to be very interesting to see what they could do coming up, because they got the Rangers, the Blackhawks, and the Ducks by next Friday. So they're heading towards a really good stand, and for the majority of November, they'll be at home. They only have 3 games in November on the road, so for the rest of November. So that's pretty good things for them.
Well, and this is the first season that I can remember in recent memory, at least the last 5, where the Red Wings are actually everybody looks at Thanksgiving. Where is the league standings at Thanksgiving? That'll tell you an awful lot about
Yes.
where to expect them to be in the postseason. And this is the first time that the Red Wings have been in that conversation for almost a decade, I think.
Yeah.
So the fact that we're actually in the conversation is testament to how much progress Todd McClellan's been able to make with this squad since he's come on board. So that in and of itself is huge. if the Wings can maintain this same rate of victory throughout November, they're going to be very well positioned. Um, I'm a little afraid about December.
Yep.
December is always a problem. Also, but I believe the fact that we are in the conversation is huge. And as long as we can maintain our consistency, I'm actually okay, Joe. I'm okay. There you go. There you go. December, it's coming, and then March again. So
Hmm.
we if we can stay above 600, um, that's gonna.
Oh,
I
took you
feel
off.
I no, sorry about that. No big deal. I feel that this team is better positioned than they have been for a decade.
No, I agree with you 100%. And I think that, when we flash that stat back up, I'll flash this one because this is win percentage 475 in November. So as we go through November, let's think about, are they below 500 for November? And then when you get to December, you're below 400. So I don't care. I really don't care. Like, people argued with me, and I don't know if you saw it, Cindy, because, people were arguing with me like, oh, it's March that's the issue. It's like, no. When you think about the NHL season, you think about what is the identifying issue. Why do you have to make up all those points going into January, going into February? And why does March always the month where you kind of fall off? Well, I could tell you right now, when you look at the statistic that I just put up on the board, they're plus 700 in January and February. Like, there's no way you can keep that up. No way. I don't care what team you are. Like that. I went through the Florida Panthers just to kind of like, they're a Stanley Cup champ back to back, right? You're thinking they have to have at least 700 months, right?
Yeah,
Nada. They never had 700 months because you literally strain yourself out. And when you get to March, it's like, you know this as well as you do, because I'll throw you a softball right here. But you're a political person, right? And you ran for office, right? So you always see those people that they'll literally they'll they'll go June, July, August hard as hell. Like, they'll be like campaigning hard as hell. They get to
hmm,
September, they get to October, and then October they fall apart. Why? Because you spent all that time trying to catch up. You weren't consistent enough, and when you try to catch up at that point, you're donezo. Like, you're a human. You're a human. You're not an AI robot that's just gonna be like, I am Mr. Roboto. We are going to play hockey. Like, it doesn't happen like that. Like, maybe
right.
maybe in a video game, or maybe like, in a real, something that's not like real life, but like, you're not gonna have a team do what they've been able to do. Like, the reason a Red Wings always struggle in March is because they're trying to come back from a December that's terrible, a November that's terrible. And you're right. The last couple years, I went back on it. We have to go back to 2015 for the Red Wings to be in a playoff spot at Thanksgiving.
Exactly, exactly.
So
So
that's 10
here's the
years.
thing. The Wings, so you'll notice, since you're comparing a Stanley, if you look at any of the Stanley Cup champions recently,
Hmm.
they're a different kind of team, right? They don't have those astronomically great months there, but they're very consistent. And so that is the key. See, the Red Wings might have had those 700 months, but then they had to because they were playing catch up from December, like you said. So the thing is, they've got to find a rhythm, and that's what they have struggled with for a decade, is
Hmm.
finding a rhythm, because once you get in that rhythm, that's where you get consistency from. You can't be, singing a George Michael ballad. See, I'm gonna date myself right now. A um, he was such a cutie. You can't have a singing a George Michael ballad and then you're playing AC/DC right after that. I mean, you got to keep it in a very consistent rhythm, and the Wings have struggled to find that rhythm for a long time. what I'm seeing and the most encouraging sign, and I think a lot of other Wings fans are going to agree with me, is that we're seeing the Wings more into a rhythm, and and that's where the consistency is coming from. It doesn't matter. They lost Patrick Kane for a number of games, but they stayed with the rhythm. They
Hmm.
may have, brought up some of these young guys. It looked like they were going to be a real, they had established a rhythm with that. You know, one of them got sent back down. They've made some roster changes. And I told you, by the way, I told everybody, you're going to see more of JVR. You've been seeing more of JVR. But even with that switch out, right? He didn't really start the season too much in the beginning with the Wings, but now you see him all the time. But it's almost seamless. You don't see these roster changes, and some of them significant, such as with losing Patrick Kane for a period of time. Like when we lost Dylan Larkin, the Wings fell apart. Was it last season or the season before that? You're not seeing that happen. You're seeing far more consistency. And despite roster changes, injuries, it's not mattering. They are staying, they haven't fallen out of that rhythm. Are you going to have a day or two where you might fall out because you're fighting jet lag or you're dealing with a back to back or something like that? Sure. But all things being considered, those are the exceptions. And that's okay. You can survive those exceptions. What you can't survive is you can't survive having a December like you've had in the past. So long as we are consistent, if we drop a little in December, it's survivable. Because how many times in the past, Joe, have you said when you go to look at the postseason and the Wings are always on the cusp, they're on the bubble, they're almost there. And you have said, at least for the last couple of seasons where that's been the case, you have said if they only would have picked up one more win in December, two
Yep.
more wins in December, they would be there. Am I wrong?
No, you're right. It's because it's just like if you've ever played the game of hockey and you know exactly what it's about. Like, okay, like even if you didn't play hockey, like you played something else, like you know that it's hard to make up ground on good teams, especially when you're in a playoff run. And when you're in a playoff run, I mean, there's teams vying to get to the playoffs. There's teams vying to, for seeding and everything. So March is a very competitive month. And if you're expecting yourself to go into March having to win 7 out of 12 games, or you're asking 8 out of 12 games, like that's not realistic. Like that's never been realistic. It just you don't win hockey games that much. Like that's just the reality. Like you have to be consistent. Like I looked at like a lot of the teams that win consistently, like even the Vegas Golden Knights, not one month did they have over a 700 points percentage. Not one month. But Detroit had two because they had to. They didn't have a choice. They were inconsistent at the beginning of the season. They thought, oh, we can catch fire right now. Obviously, people are going to say the Four Nations tournament really turned them off. But let's be honest, like they went into the Four Nations tournament and after the Tampa Bay loss, and they got absolutely, they just fell apart. And that's not, like you said, when we were talking about this team back in like March, right? If they would have just won that one game, maybe two games, you're in a different situation. And you look at the standings from the last couple of years, and you're only a couple points out. So, I mean, the year that Washington made the playoffs over you were tied with them. So that just proves the point. Like you need to get the points while you can, because March is a very, very competitive month. It's always the most competitive month in hockey. And I read a quote because I was doing research for the podcast. Uh, the one of the best coaches in NHL, in my opinion, is what is the guy's name? For Florida, what's his name? God, I'm drawing blank. Forgot his name. Like I'm having a oh my god. He won 2 Stanley Cups, so I can't believe.
I know, and I can see I'm having the same problem because I can see him in my mind's eye, and his name is just escaping me, and I know it, right?
Oh my god, Panther.
Anyway, that guy.
So it is oh, Paul Maurice. That's what I thought.
There you go.
Paul Maurice had the best quote, and it was, I'm trying to pull it up on my thing, but can't. But he said, when you get into March, you better expect that playoff hockey really turns into playoff hockey. He goes, even like the teams that have nothing to gain are coming for you. And I just look at it back with the Red Wings and I go, okay, the 2 games that you lost that you could look back on, when the Arizona Coyotes were still like around, and they weren't the Utah Mammoth, they beat your ass in March, and they were not a playoff team. So I mean, that just tells you everything you need to know about March hockey. It's a different type of month, man. You get into March, you get into April, the weather starts changing, teams start playing way above their heels, and it is what it is. It's a good time for hockey, especially if you're watching hockey. Like I always tell people, especially NFL fans, I'll be like, look, if you're really wanting to get into hockey and you really want to learn about the game before the playoffs, turn on March hockey. That's what I always tell them. I told the guy at work this, and now he's a big hockey fan, and he's a huge hockey fan. Actually, he has a 6-game road trip he's going to. He's going to Boston, Toronto, Chicago. He's going to start in Detroit, and he's going to go to Boston, Toronto, Montreal, Chicago. I forget the other one that he's going to, but all the original 6 teams he wants to go to. I think there's one team that you won't be able to make because it's not on his road trip. But March hockey is extremely tough. So it is what it is.
Well, speaking of Paul Maurice, I got to tell you though, ever since I don't know, it was NHL.com or somebody, they mic'd him up, and they've been playing that clip of him when they were in I don't know,
Toronto
Stanley Cup final or whatever.
Yeah,
and
Toronto.
He's behind the bench and he's screaming and he's yelling at him, "What are you doing? Don't give him a break." And then he says, and I thought, you can tell he was in the heat of the moment, that he clearly wasn't thinking about how this would sound replayed, but he goes, "Pound their effing D, pound their effing D." What he said, of course, said the word. And I wonder, clearly he wasn't thinking about what that was going to sound like later. But I got his point, right? Don't take your foot off the gas. Don't lay off these guys. We want them damaged for the next game. We want them, not necessarily hurt, but you want them tired. You don't want to give them a break. Pound their effing D. I don't care if you were winning the game. I want you to pound them. But obviously wanted them to pound the defense. But right, like keep coming. But anyway, that's just I can't. When you said Paul Maurice quote, sorry, the only one that comes to my mind is "pound their effing D." And that's one that could be used in so many situations. But anyway, I'm getting profane.
I think mic'd up is one of the best things that you could ever have. I really do. I think like when you hear like mic'd up, like I think like when the Lions do their mic'd up during on the YouTube, that's awesome. Like you hear like Dan Campbell or Jared Goff or whoever's mic'd up, like usually something happens and they're in the heat of the moment, and words fly. And I remember back in the day, there was a coach that played that coach for the damn it, what is it? It was Baltimore Ravens coach. It was John Harbaugh, and everyone was swearing around him like F yeah, F yeah, F yeah. They just scored a touchdown. He's like, calm down, I'm mic'd up. And the guy goes, F you. Just that always makes me laugh, the mic'd up portion. But Patrick Kane's back. So this is a good sign for the Red Wings because Max Boltman put this out there today. Patrick Kane is out there practicing with the team. Obviously, they start their whole playing against the Rangers on Friday, which will be interesting. Now, going back to our last segment, Cindy, Danella Bruce, who is, she's one of those Anchor Bay people like you. She put this out, but her last name isn't Bruce. So she's not fooling us. She's an Italian girl. Anyways, most recent seasons where the Red Wings won at least 9 games, 9 of their first 13 games. This is the first time since 2010 and 2011 they won 9 out of 13. You go to 2008 and 09, they won 9. 07, 08 when they won the Cup, 10 wins. 05, 06, 12 wins. 01, 02, 11 wins. So it's a good start for them. Obviously, getting Patrick Kane back, like we're saying, they're going to get Patrick Kane back. That's a huge lift to this team because I think the Red Wings not playing without Patrick Kane it kind of helped them out a little bit because it's kind of like if we could do this without him, we can do this with him. And I think that's a good kind of mindset to get into, because when you get a guy like Patrick Kane back, he's going to help you on the score sheet. There's zero doubt about that. So I'm very excited to have Patrick Kane back.
Well, first and foremost, let's deal with the most important thing that you mentioned right there. And that is that she's an Italian girl, and we all know Italian girls are the best. There is no equivocation about that, right?
Hmm.
Like, we some of us are Italian girls undercover. Like, well, now your beautiful wife, she is too, because nobody would, Chap's not an Italian name. That's not her maiden name. My maiden name, my name is not Italian sounding, but my maiden name is, so same, all the way around, right?
Undercover
So
Italian, yes.
that's right, we're undercover Italians, but you can't stop how our awesomeness. That's the truth. So that's number one. Secondly,
Hmm.
with the mic'd up thing, we're talking about mic'd up. We're talking about Patrick Kane. You know who I think would be brilliant to have mic'd up? I got to tell you, is little Trick Kane, Trick Kane, and little Archie DeBrinket. They are just the best, man. I love those kids. They're fantastic, adorable, adorable, adorable. We got to mic up those little kids and see what they have to say, because I have a feeling they're not too much different than their dads. But yeah, but the fact that we've got Patrick Kane back is a tremendous opportunity for the Wings to piggyback on what they've already done, build on that success, and hopefully Patrick Kane will be able to help them with the December curse. You know, if he can do that, we've got to get, again, more pucks on net. I think Patrick Kane is going to be a big piece of that. Now, will he maybe come in and change up or shift the chemistry a little bit, the rhythm a little bit? I hope not. I think he's a pro. I think he recognizes he's going to play his game, but he also recognizes he doesn't want to do anything to compromise what they already got going on. So I think he's going, I really like Patrick Kane anyway, period. I have from the time he came here. Just he's a consummate professional. He's so talented, so great at what he does. Um, and like I said, I really like his kid too. I think he's just adorable. But no, aside from all of that, really, but just Patrick Kane, you need, and he's such. I mean, nothing ever rattles that guy. You notice that? Like he
No,
never gets rattled.
he's a consummate pro. He's a really good pro player, and he's a very. I think when you look at, like, if you were a young kid learning how to play hockey, I think there's four players that you would want to emulate your game after, just the way that they play. Like, obviously Patrick Kane, with the way that he's aggressive playing offensive hockey. If you want to be a two-way forward, I mean, in this generation, there is no Eiserman, there is no Zetterberg. But if you're in this generation, a guy like Crosby or Connor McDavid is the guy that you would like to emulate your game after. But you look at all the top level players, and they're consummate pros. Like, they never get too high, they never get too low, and I think that's what separates the elites from just the good players.
Again, it's that consistency, and then what they do is they just elevate it, elevate it, elevate it. But the other thing I see from the Wings too, and this could be lending to their consistency, and we're talking about having Patrick Kane back. You're talking about a guy who is an absolute master of the fundamentals.
Hmm.
Okay. Yeah, he can pull off some absolutely amazing plays, but there's a lot of these young guys will show you some tricks too. I mean, they can do some stuff that is a great flash in the pan. That's a fantastic, wow, what do they say, like a clip worthy play, right? Like that's going on Sports Center back in the
Yeah,
day,
yeah.
right? It's a Sports Center kind of a play. Sure, there's a lot of guys who can pull that out of their hat once in a blue moon. Patrick Kane can do that, but what makes him, I believe, so great, Connor McDavid, same thing. Crosby, same thing. That's the frosting on the cake. But these are guys that got the cake to put the frosting on in the first place. They've
Yep.
got a mastery of the fundamentals. And what I'm seeing with the Wings play, the way they're playing, the way the lines are playing together, the way the units are playing together, the way the special teams units have come together and elevated their game, there is a consistency there. And it seems to me, and I'm not, again, I'm at a little bit at a disadvantage because I wasn't at training camp this year, which I normally am, and I would have been able to kind of have a perspective on this. But what I believe I feel I'm seeing is a concentration on the fundamentals, and that is all Todd McClellan. That's all him.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's where the consistency is coming from. I think it's coming from a fact they found a rhythm because they found some chemistry. They have found consistency because they have newly recommitted themselves to the fundamentals. And then you've got, just those really superstar shots, those sports center guys, those marquee players like Patrick Kane, who can come in and put the cherry on top. And I believe that the Wings really have a recipe for success this year. I just hope that it continues.
Yeah, I think, I mean, me and you talked about it about this a lot, but we can circle back on this. I mean, when you look at the difference that Coach McClellan, Todd McClellan has had over a guy like Derek Malone, it's clear and obvious. 26, 18, 4, and that's just going into this year. He was last year. Derek Malone was 13, 17, and 4 going into Christmas break. So, look, you've already won. A good portion of your games. What I see with this guy with Todd McClellan and this team right now is they're more disciplined. I think we could see that with the penalty minutes, but I think that they're better coached. I think in years past, like you go back to Jeff Blashill, Derek Malone and Jeff Blashill. I think they kind of they did not have a well coached team. And I think that, and especially in hockey, the most important part about a hockey team is being coached well. Like you're not going to win without a coach. It just very rarely does it happen, if ever. I mean, it takes a huge amount of talent to overcome not having the guy on the bench that's going to really, you know, be the chef behind the bench. They always talk about a guy cooking in basketball or baseball or football or whatever. But the hockey coaches, they're on the fly, man. They got to make decisions really quickly. They don't have time to kind of, oh, we got to do this, we got to do this. I mean, they got the periods obviously, but most of the periods you're going balls to the wall, no stoppages. Obviously you have like 30 seconds here and there, but not enough to where you can collect your thoughts. And if you don't have that guy behind the bench, like Scotty Bowman was the greatest at it. I always say Bowman and Babcock, even though Babcock was a total douche, which he was, but he made behind the bench, he made some phenomenal moves that won hockey games. And if you could if you could be as a coach and you can win 3 or 4 hockey games, I think that plummets your how good of a coach you are in the National Hockey League, because the bad coaches are going to cost their team games with the lineup changes or line changes and the too many men on the ice. But with Todd, it's completely different. I mean, I don't remember a time where I don't think the Red Wings have had a too many men on the ice call this year. Which I think going into last year, we talked about it. I think I read it that we talked about it because I put in one of our notes. They had 3 going into Thanksgiving break. The Red Wings have had none. So that's very rewarding right there. So look, I think McClellan's doing a hell of a job. I think the team is matching what he's been able to put down. Like, look, you're going to be disciplined. You're going to play this way. You're going to play a fast, aggressive game. And I think the Red Wings are going to pay dividends by let's say by I think they've been way better on 5-on-5 than their numbers show. I think they've been a way better shooting team than their numbers show. So eventually you will get that luck, and hopefully it happens in November and December, because this is a month that we really talk about, Cindy, and we end up talking about it in March too.
Well, here's the thing. These are my thoughts on Todd McClellan. The reason why I think Todd McClellan is a huge reason why you have so much contribution coming from everybody on this team. That's the other thing too. You've got much more balanced contributions coming from particularly the forward group. than you've had in the past. Before, it was all Dylan Larkin, and like everybody else, just kind of hung in there. I mean, DeBrincat came in and tried to do something. You saw some improvement there, but then you just had basically Larkin and the Cat, and that was it. I mean, you really didn't have a whole lot of other guys trying to make it happen, and what you've seen is a consistency also in just the amount of contribution coming from all players in all positions, but particularly in this forward group. That is all Todd McClellan. He has found a way, just like Dan Campbell. And I will say this, he has the potential to be a Dan Campbell. That kind of greatness, I believe, because he has found a way to activate every player on this team. And he needed to do that because he knows that one guy doesn't make it happen, two guys don't make it happen. And the fact is, let's face it, for the last several years, we haven't really had a coach. You know who the coach has been? You know who the assistant coach of the Red Wings has been for the last 3 or 4 years? Dylan Larkin.
Patrick
And you
Kane.
can't be a coach. Yeah, and you can't be a coach and a player. Something's
No,
going to suffer, right?
nope.
Something's going to suffer. And so, therefore, Dylan Larkin wasn't able to really play up to his potential. And I've said this before. I think he's going to be one of the greats. A lot of people hated on him for a long time, saying at best, he's a second-rate center. He should be on a second or third line in any other team, all this kind of stuff. And the only reason why that could have been the case is because he's had to be a part-time coach while he's trying to be a captain too. So give the guy a break. This is really the first full season where you're going to see Dylan Larkin able to perform and have the opportunity to perform to his up to his potential. Now that's up to him, but at least this is the first time in many seasons that he's being given an opportunity to even do that. So that's because of Todd McClellan also. So not only has he inspired, activated, and properly coached the rest of these guys, he's giving Dylan Larkin an opportunity to become the Dylan Larkin that he has the potential to be. And he has a control and a command over this game. To your point, that's why we haven't had too many men in the ice penalties. That's why you've seen these guys be so well coached. You've seen the game managed so well because Todd McClellan's strength is that. And so, for those reasons, Todd McClellan has very much the potential to be a Dan Campbell. I think he is a Dan Campbell, to be honest with you. You just haven't seen it yet, but you're going to see it because you know what? He was an outstanding coach when he coached on the West Coast. He
Hmm.
was an outstanding coach everywhere he went. He
Well,
just had he just had problematic ownership or problematic players to
teams.
deal with.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
yeah.
right. So that wasn't on him. So I think what we've got is if people will recognize this, and again, I challenge anybody out there to prove me wrong. Send us a message or something. You follow us on all of our platforms. Send me a message on every one of them saying, Cindy, you're crazy. But what I'm saying is that you've got a couple of really outstanding performers, both in the head coach and in your captain and in your supporting uh, folks all along the organization who are now in the right place at the right time to perform at their best. And the Red Wings are going to benefit from that. Now, am I saying that that means we're going to win the Stanley Cup? No. But the fact that we are in the conversation in November, I'll use your line, Joe. That tells you everything you need to know.
Yeah, I'll echo what you said because I love that Michael Jordan is a part of the NBA coverage on NBC because I think Michael Jordan is one of the best players to ever play a sport. And so when I hear Michael Jordan say that, he looks at some of the NBA and he tells himself, he goes, I could never look at myself in this NBA because the players think that they're better than the coaches. He goes, when I was a player for the Chicago Bulls, I listened to Phil Jackson because Phil Jackson knew it all. And Phil Jackson would put us in the right spot to be in. He would let me play the game, but he would allow me to be in the best spot possible with whatever substitutions, whatever the case may be. The point I'm making is if Michael effing Jordan is talking about coaching being a huge asset to his career, I don't know what you want me to say. And I think in any sport, coaching is huge, but I think in basketball you can get away with it a little more than you can in hockey and football and baseball. Like a bad manager in baseball is probably going to lose you games. A bad coach in hockey is probably going to lose you a lot of games. A bad coach in football is probably going to lose you a lot of games. But in basketball, you can get away. But I look at these great players and they're like, no, dude, I love when I had a hard coach. I love when he challenged me. Like Bill Belichick is kind of an ass, but Tom Brady, you could tell that he loved having a coach like Bill Belichick to start his career because it kind of put him in the mode of where he got from now. And so I look at the Red Wings and I look at, people were there when Todd came, they were like, oh, he was with the Sharks, they did nothing. He was with the Kings, they did nothing. He was with the Edmonton Oilers, they did nothing. And I just want you to go look at those teams that he coached. There's Edmonton that was just, they were just getting out of rebuild. So they were not the team that you see right now. The Sharks were going into a rebuild and the LA Kings were going into a rebuild. So whatever the case may be, the situation didn't benefit him, but this situation really does benefit Todd McLellan because he's actually got a team where he could nurture these young players. He's got some players that are, a little bit older that could, they're veterans and they know what's expected. But I just look at this team and I think that Todd McLellan's made a huge, huge, huge portion of this team. And it can't be understated how big of an impact that he has made. And people dismiss it. Like, I hear these radio hosts that are on, 97.1 The Ticket or whatever station they're at. And they're like, oh, it's March. I go, guys, we really didn't have a coach until Christmas time last year. Like we got a Christmas present where you actually got a real NHL coach. And I told you at the time, Cindy, well, you can go back and check. People can go back and check. Go back at Christmas time and listen to me and Cindy talk about getting McLellan. I said, you're going to get a guy who's going to teach these guys the right way. And it might take some time. And they had a hot January and they had a hot February, but damn, they got the March and they just fell apart. And that's because they went back to what they knew best with Derek Lalonde. That's what they did. So I'm not upset, but I think this is going to be a very good team moving forward, in my opinion.
Well, that's it. It takes time. It takes time to retrain yourself to a different system. I guarantee you, Todd McLellan's system is night and day from Jeff Blashill's, and is night and day from Newsies. I know that for a fact.
Well, can you really get any worse? Can you really get any worse? Like, can you get worse than a bald-headed Blashill? And what's up with these bald-headed coaches? I don't understand. Blashill and Lalonde. I think we hit the bald people Olympics. And I speak for people because I'm losing my hair. But I'm just saying.
I was about to say, and how about that hat, Joe? You want to take it off?
No comment. No comment. I'm just saying, like, you can't. Blashill and Lalonde were just. I never felt like they were good coaches. I mean, I gave Blashill the benefit of doubt because the team wasn't that good. But Lalonde, I knew right away he wasn't a good coach because I watched this guy and he's literally lost behind the bench. And then this is how I know if you're a good coach or not. Like I told my buddy who's a Vikings fan, I like his coach that they got in Minnesota, Kevin O'Connell, and they just beat the Lions. But it is what it is. But I said, I know a good coach when he gets pissed off over a bad call. When he gets pissed off over a bad call, I go, okay, this guy is in it. He's in it to win it, Lalonde was like, he was just like a bad call. He's like looking up at the scoreboard, like, oh man, what time do we get out of here? What time can I go to Harry's? Right next to the stadium, like, get him out of here. And I told you that last year before the season started. I was like, this guy is gonna get fired this year. And you're like, maybe he won't. And I was like, I'm telling you right now, this is terrible. And sure as shit, he gets fired in December, and we all get a Christmas present. So we're almost 1 year till when Todd was hired, and I think this team has done a 180 under Todd McLellan compared to Lalonde.
Oh, for sure. And here's the thing: I just didn't see Steve Yzerman. He just his reputation is he doesn't fire guys midseason. He just doesn't typically do that. So I was a little surprised, and I didn't get any heads up that it was coming really. So I was pleasantly surprised. I agreed with you. I thought that they shouldn't have renewed Lalone for the next year anyway. They should have fired him during the off season and brought McClellan in then, but that didn't happen. So thank God though it did happen. And I'm not saying like I don't know. I guess I'm not so harsh thinking, Lalone's a bad coach. He's not the right coach for this team. It's arguable he's not even the right coach for the NHL because I don't think he's doing so great where he's at. But they're having issues over there. So
You
that
know
might
what?
be the case.
I'll say this. There's 3 coaches I wish I could strap to a rocket and send them to Mars. 3 coaches. I still have one Dullard, but I would love to strap him to the SpaceX rocket that Elon Musk has, and I would like to just send him to Mars. Here, go see those red rocks or whatever the hell it's called. It's Jonathan Smith at Michigan State because he's terrible and he looks like a doofus. It's that boob Matt Patricia, and I'll tell you what. Derek Malone made that because of last year when he got to November and he's talking about, well, we could have had a better result, and he calls out Larkin like, dude, shut up. How about you do your job? And you, oh my God, I can't stand that guy. I'd like to strap him to a rocket. All 3 of those guys, rocket, Mars. See ya.
That might be a little harsh, but I understand the point for sure. For sure.
Well, Matt Patricia, first of all, he probably before he got on Ozempic, he probably would have weighed the rocket down. So we probably couldn't have got the Mars. I mean, we probably got the moon, but it is what it is.
All right. So look,
we got the look ahead. We'll move on from my little rant that I had.
Good.
Just a minute.
I think it's time, Joe, because you're going to get yourself all worked up here, get back on the crazy train, and then I got to try to stop it. And I'm not real good at stopping crazy trains.
Look,
lately.
I got the Lions podcast just right after this, and boy oh boy am I going to get into that with James. James is doing podcasts with me. He's been doing it with me. He's a smart little fellow. But I'll tell you this right now, you don't want to get me going because I'm on a roll today. I'm like those rolls at Costco. But as we look ahead to the Red Wings schedule over the next week, looking from this Friday to next Saturday, we'll look at those games because they're all home games, and I think 3 of these games really matter to Patrick Kane because he missed one of them, which was Buffalo, which is next Saturday. And the 2 teams he will play back to back. He won't play back to back, but he'll play Friday and Sunday against them. He plays the Chicago Blackhawks on Sunday at 1:00, and he plays the Rangers on Friday at 7:00. 3 of those games matter to Patrick Kane because he played for the Rangers, he played for the Blackhawks, and he grew up in Buffalo. So if there's any time to let this guy loose, it's against these 3 teams. Now, the Ducks, they're a pretty good team, but the way I look at it, Cindy, all these teams that they got coming up, this is a good stretch for the Red Wings because when you look at these teams that they're going to be playing, and it's not like they're going against the easiest teams in the league. I mean, the Rangers, they're 500. The Buffalo Sabres, they're 500 too. They're kind of at the bottom of the barrel right now. But you got, the Chicago Blackhawks who they've been they're a different team this year. They are just outside the playoffs right now with 15 points, but they're 6-5-3. But the Anaheim Ducks are first in their division, so in the Pacific over the Vegas Golden Knights. So all 4 of these games, in my opinion, they really can challenge you. They really can challenge you in their own way, in my opinion. So this is a good stretch for the Red Wings because you look at the way that these 2 teams, these Chicago's, the Rangers, the Anaheim Ducks, and the Sabres. I mean, the Sabres seem like they always have the Red Wings number. I don't know what it is about Buffalo. I literally do not understand it. Like, my coworker is from Buffalo, Keith, and he doesn't understand it. I don't understand it. And honestly, I don't think anybody in the world understands the Buffalo-Detroit why Buffalo always has the upper edge over Detroit for some odd reason, even when they were good. I mean, I remember 2002, the Red Wings went to Buffalo and they lost 6-1. Like, a great team. That was a Hall of Fame team, and they lost 6-1 in Buffalo. But I look at these teams come up, and I think this is going to be a very good shot for the Red Wings to actually make some hay, and I think they're going to have a shot.
Well, I hope that they can get over on Buffalo because that's a division game. So I hope that they can solve their curse of Buffalo. You know, the other team that Detroit has problems with is Seattle. Like the Mariners, the Tigers, I mean, they lose to the Mariners all the time. I don't know what it is about Seattle. I mean, it's by the way, have you ever been to Seattle? I've been there several times. I have family there. It's cold and it's wet and it's miserable. And I don't understand why we can't beat a team that comes from somewhere like that, but whatever. Um, right. But I hope we can. I really want to win this game against Buffalo. I think we should be able to win against the Blackhawks as well. That
Yeah.
should not be a problem. So I'm looking for us to. I'm looking for us to absolutely win the Chicago game. We're going to be looking for some payback on that Anaheim game.
Yep.
So hopefully that'll be the case. And then if we can get over on Buffalo, we're in real good shape. I think the New York Rangers are, yeah, everybody knows how incredibly weak they are this year right now. They're at the bottom of the division in the Metro. And so they're obviously having some challenges. I see a great opportunity there. So hopefully payback with the Ducks. We end the curse with the Sabres. We just run over Chicago because they're a rival and we should, and they're not a great team. And then the Rangers, who are struggling, take advantage of that. So I mean, there's a great opportunity to sweep this look ahead period. These next 4 games, we could sweep these, but I'll tell you, I'll be real happy if we walk out 50-50. And if we can do 500 by taking out Chicago and then and getting over on Buffalo, I'm going to be a happy girl.
Well, I mean, you're in luck because Seattle is the 18th of November, so you're gonna get your wish right there. So,
Good. Get rid of those guys.
but I just look at it like this: the Red Wings schedule. Look, the next 4 games are going to be critical because we talked about November and December being critical months, and I think if you win 3 out of these 4 games, you put yourself in a really good spot to be really good in November. So that's the most important thing right there. And I look ahead to the rest of the schedule. I mean, they got the New York Rangers after Buffalo. It's on the road. Seattle, New York, Columbus come to Detroit. And then you got the Jersey Devils the week of Thanksgiving again, and then you got the Predators before Thanksgiving. So, like, look, the Red Wings got their work cut out for them, but I look at this schedule; it's very manageable, and I think the game that is going to really tip the scales. And if they could beat Anaheim, I can't believe I'm saying this, but if they could beat Anaheim, because Anaheim is one of the highest scoring teams in the NHL this season at 3.92 goals for on the season. They're number 1 in the NHL. That will give me a lot of confidence heading into the last part of the whole schedule in November, because I look at some of these teams that are on the back end, and yes, some of them have really kicked their ass in terms of the Islanders last time, Seattle, but I think this is a new Red Wings team, and I think that if they could beat Anaheim next week, that could be a huge portion of pushing them over the top, in my opinion.
And I think there's a good chance that they will, because so long as, look, Todd McClellan got a chance to see his team on the ice against these guys. I trust that Todd McClellan will make whatever appropriate adjustments need to be made to deal with Anaheim when they come back. And I believe that the Red Wings are going to want some retribution there. They were embarrassed in that game, and they are not going to let that stand, I don't think. So I think there's real opportunities for us to even the balance sheet with Anaheim. And I agree with you. I think that'll be a big game. I think it will be. I think they will come back. I think they're going to beat them. I really do. I really thought they had a great shot at them before. But here's the thing: is we got to have our D has to be able to stop their momentum. That is what Anaheim has. They've got this tremendous momentum among their forward groups and their lines. They're very aggressive. They just have to be ready for that, and they've got to stop them. Don't even let them get into the zone. They got to turn those guys back in the neutral zone. That's what they got to do with those guys, because if they go ahead, if we find them on our end of the ice, they're going to be fighting those pucks off the net all day long. They've got to stop these guys in the neutral zone, turn them around, and keep things down at their end of the ice as much as possible. Then they got a chance again against Anaheim. I think Todd McClellan will make that adjustment, Joe. I think you're going to get your wish.
Yeah, I think that the Red Wings are going to do a really good job, in my opinion, with this stretch that they have, this outlook where they got 4 games at home. And I look at the Anaheim game, Cindy, and this is, we'll end the podcast after this, but they got a 3-day break before the Anaheim game. So that is a kind of a scheduling quirk that works out in your favor. So I look at that and I look at the rest of the schedule, and you got no 3-day breaks from here on out in November. So this is a critical, you win these 2 and then you go into this stretch where you play every other day. This is a critical time for the Red Wings. And if they could just win against Anaheim, they're setting themselves up for a huge November. And that would be very rewarding. And we talk about that November has been a little bit of a issue with them. And if they can go over that 475 win percentage, I think that they're going to be in a good spot for going into December. So as long as in December they don't go 100 winning percentage, they're going to be fine. So it is what it is. Thank you for everyone for watching. Thank you, Cindy, for coming on, even though you were having just a difficult day. In terms of people are being difficult towards you, you need to tell these people that they need to, like Herb Brooks said famously, get to the line and make them skate Minnesota's. And I think that's the most important part. I think you could change a lot of things in the world if people had to skate Minnesota's, or suicide.
I agree.
But you can't call it that no more. You just can't call it that. So we go with a more PG Minnesota. Okay.
So I really couldn't say, if you drop the gloves on my home ice, I'm going to F you up. I can't say that.
Well, here's the thing. It depends on who it is, because you don't want to make people cry or feel like they're threatened. But I do like what Coach McClellan said just a couple of days ago, and he said that he's like, if they want to come in our net, we're gonna whoop their ass. I said, all right, that's good. I like that. Good coach.
Let's go.
All right, we'll see you guys in the next podcast. As always, we'll have a new intro next week, so just stay tuned for that, because that'll be good. Because we really need a new intro. You'll see it on the outro. But it is what it is. Red Wings had a good West Coast trip. The cowboy hat they put on after the trip, there's a little cowboy hat in the winged wheel. They go 3-2. We gave you the Patrick Kane is coming back tomorrow. And we gave you all the statistics that you need to know. We'll see you in the next podcast. We're talking more Detroit Red Wings hockey on the Red Alert podcast. I'm Joe. She's Cindy.
I'm Cindy.
Oh, yeah. And
We'll
then
see you then.
we'll see you in the next podcast.
See ya.